To goal.com, 5 of these players could be on their way out of Kaizer Chiefs. And Far Post, in fact, have actually confirmed that one of these players is on his way out and has even accepted the fact that he's leaving Kaizer Chiefs. So let's go through each and every one of the 5 players on the list and see which one of them actually still has a place at Kaizer Chiefs and why the others don't have a place in the Kaizer Chiefs setup. Hello and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. I am Pilo, I am your host, and this is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Khosi Football Club. Number 5 is dun 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 Happy Martian. So, Happy Martian's situation is a tricky one because there are people on one side saying, "Hey, Happy Martian, his confidence was destroyed by what happened in that final." But that final was like 3 years ago now, and his form still hasn't recovered. So then it's like, really, can we keep on defending him upon a mistake that happened 3 years ago? Because even the coach who benched him afterwards left almost over a year ago. So we can't still be saying, I know it's Baxter's fault because Baxter left 18 months ago, not even a year ago. So that's a very long time for us to still be saying Happy Mashiane is not performing because Baxter benched him or because of what happened in the final. Because look at Kaizer Chiefs, the setup right now. Mashiane was in the setup ka-Atazwane in the development. So his chance to shine was last season and he still didn't do it. So if your mentor, the person who found you and grew you and groomed you as a player, as a young player, was there trying to give you an opportunity and you didn't take it, then a player at some point also has to take some responsibility. I'm not trying to bash you happy for this, but I'm thinking that if there was anything, if there was a time for him to shine as a Kaizer Chiefs player, it would have been last season. Chiefs have gotten to a point where they've had to extend the contract of Sfiso Hlanti, even though he always, as I've said, with Sfiso Hlanti, he doesn't give poor performances game in, game out. But for me, he gives a 5 out of 10 performance all of the time. Because you look at him against the Pirates, against the Sundowns, same kind of goal, yet he's a tall player. Those are the costly mistakes that I'm highlighting. But there are other things that you see that he could have been doing better, but is actually not doing that great. And Mashiane could be saying, you know what, there's a position elahlile, I can go and take that position. Even last season, Udove spent majority of the time playing as a centre back, which means Hlanti didn't have competition. And Hlanti didn't have competition because Umashiane did not raise his hand. And now there is a new coach, and we can clearly see that Umashiane is not there because Uhlanti, when he was being protected in the game, Stellenbosch, and was placed on the bench, look who came on as a replacement. It was Ref Frosler. Ref Frosler had to be played out of position while there's someone who can play as a left back. And yes, I know Gutu Happy Mashiane played as a left wing back with development and not necessarily as a left back. And in his best season for Kaizer Chiefs, he was actually playing as a right or a left winger and not necessarily as a left back. But if you're playing as a left wing back, part of your job is to know how to defend. In fact, it is to know how to defend because when we are defending, you fall and become part of a back five. But if you're attacking, then you're expected to go forward, which is exactly what is expected from a left back because a left back is expected to overlap in a system that Kaizer Chiefs are currently playing. So there is a minor difference in terms of how a left back starts and where a left back ends in a team, but it's sort of similar. So I think Happy Mashian, if he hasn't impressed Umulifinsege this season, I definitely see how they might end up letting him go. But it leads us to the second player who I actually don't think Kaizer Chiefs will be letting go. If they do let him go, I really don't know what sense that makes. Because with goal number 4, they named Jabulo Ngobo as a player whose future at Kaizer Chiefs is uncertain. This is ridiculous from both sides. Because on the side of Kaizer Chiefs, he's like the third choice centre back because right now Kwenek is being played as right back. So if anything happens to Unjabulo Ngobo, not Unjabulo Ngobo, if anything happens to Titlok, who replaces him? It's obviously going to be Unjabulo Ngobo. If anything happens to Msimang, who replaces him? Unjabulo Ngobo. Because all the other defenders are gone. Dube is gone, Gezana is gone, and who's there? it's just Kunik and Jabulani. Those two. Because Aiden McCarthy has not been brought up to play in and around the team. So the player who's remaining is Jabulani. So letting him go, what does that say about his depth? And also, you see, Chiefs have not signed a defensive midfielder, which means they will need someone who can actually play in that position. And they've been bringing him on late on in games to kind of play as a defensive midfielder and solidify the team. So Jabulani leaving Kaizer Chiefs, I definitely don't see that happening, because even on his side, he doesn't need to make a noise really, because enjoy playing for Kaizer Chiefs and you are getting some minutes, and next season you will go to another team, because there is no team that's going to buy Jabulani from Kaizer Chiefs. The only way he can leave is if they settle him out, they pay him just like they did with Ukol and Upimenyimana, and I don't think they're gonna do that with him, while they are planning to do that with Umahlatsi as well. So I don't think this actually makes any sense. So I think Jabulani will be staying. So while we're here and staying, if you stayed up to this point, please do make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It does help me to reach more people like you. After the whole transfer window thing went away, people have been subscribing less and less, but there are a lot of views still. So please do the right thing. Subscribe. Leads us to the next player, which is Ulehlohonolo Matlo. This once again does not make any sense to me. Why am I saying this? It's simple. Because you look at Matlo and what has been happening with him. Matlo has been given a lot of game time this season. And I don't know why, but he's been given a lot of game time. If the aim of giving him game time is so that we can give him an opportunity, because when I saw Matlo, not Matlo, when I saw Mahlatsi and Sekhota being given an opportunity with preseason, then I was like, this might just be a lifeline. Like, here, do something in these two games, try and play well, then maybe we can keep you. And they didn't perform, and they ended up being let go. Angakhuluma no Mahlatsi, but sokhuluma naye later on. So Usekhota ended up being let go because of the same situation. Yoguti didn't perform. But when I look at Matlo and I see that the coach actually trusts him, because he did not just bring him on in the game here cheaper or TS Galaxy, it's a small game, but he actually brought him on in the game here Sundowns while we were leading. So that's not someone you are bringing him on. It's not someone you are bringing on for an audition, because he came here Sundowns. It's not a time to test the system. It's not a time to see if players fit in the system. Game here Sundowns, it's your most trusted squad, your best squad, and if he brings him on as a sub, then he believes that he's one of the players who can have the best possible impact in calming the game down and preserving the lead for the team. So I definitely think with Unsegi, he trusts Ulehlohonolo Matlo, and I think Matlo is one of the players who is staying. In fact, I think in his eyes, he sees him as some kind of a long-term player and a very good player, because remember, he was head of technical, and he's the one who was making the final decisions with regards of who gets signed. Some people don't know that, because I didn't know that, but when I found out about the story of Caleb Bimenyimana, that he's actually the one who made the call to the HN Bimenyimana to tell them that, hey, give us the passport of the player, we must organize for the player to come back and play for Kaizer Chiefs. So he's the one who was making these final decisions, which is funny because now Caleb is gone, yet he's the one who called Caleb to come to Chiefs. But once again, we've established this. As much as he's the one who was making the decisions, he also has bosses. So I think with Matlo, he's one of the players that he saw and thought, you know what, this guy fits the system. So he brought him onto Kaizer Chiefs, and now he's trusting in him to make a difference. Which leads us to another player once again that Bruce has been giving minutes, and that is Usabelo Hadebe. With Usabelo Hadebe, the situation is weird once again, because for me to say Usabelo Hadebe is leaving, I would have believed that last season. Why? Because he nearly didn't play any game at all, right? He wasn't being used. But this season, when we're playing against Sundowns and we're losing, what does Nsegi do? He brings on Sabelo Hadebe. I'm like, huh? So I was confused, because in that game, it wasn't a game that Sabelo Hatebe could have had an impact. And there was another game. He brought on Sabelo Hatebe. I think it was Amazulu. So I saw that, okay, with Umatlo and Usabelo Hatebe, those are the two players who are, I'm not saying that's the truth, but in my eyes, I see them kind of being Samgelo Zwane and Mtutuz Shabalala's version of Umlifinsegi, because the bigger player, which is Umatlo, who is a ball player instead of Uzwane, and then Sabelo Hatebe in terms of getting the ball, passing the ball. He's kind of a replacement of Tutuzi Shabalala. But as we have seen, Tutuzi Shabalala is still a better ball carrier than Usabelo Hatebe. Not saying Usabelo Hatebe is not good enough, no. I'm just saying, in my eyes, Samgelo Zwane is a better player than Matlou, and Tutuzi Shabalala is a better player than Usabelo Hatebe. But in the eyes of Mlifinsegi, from what we've seen this season, it seems like he prefers the other players that I actually think are not as good as the ones that I prefer. But I'm just me, a guy sitting here, so don't add me. Anyways, with Usabelo Hatebe, once again, I think his future at Kaizer Chiefs is still kind of solid with regards to what Lifinsegi sees him and how he has utilized him so far this season. Which leads us to the other one who I've kind of talked about, and I didn't mean to talk about him, and that is Kamohelo Mahlatsi. Farpost has also reported that Sabelo Kamohelo Mahlatsi is leaving Kaizer Chiefs, and he himself has accepted the situation. I mean, he has only played like 7 games for Chiefs, like since he arrived. And the worst thing about him, I feel for him, because I like ball carriers, man. I like players who can carry the ball as much as he can pass the ball, but also carry the ball. Because what I've seen a lot of times is that Chiefs players will get the ball, try to pass the ball, and it's a bad pass. Keep the ball if you can. That's why I like him to do Shabalal. Can keep the ball, look for options. If someone tries to take the ball off him, he can dribble past that person and make fun of that person in the process, and then still create goal scoring opportunities. So Mahlatsi, in his days in Swallows, I've always seen him that, okay, this player can do this player can do that. But now it's clearly not happening, and has not happened for him at Kaizer Chiefs. And Farpost are reporting that he's accepted his fate and is on his way out of Kaizer Chiefs. Out of these 5 players, who do you think Chiefs should keep and who do you think Chiefs should let go? Let me know down on the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals al pelumoya.